Okay, so this is 400 times speed of me writing an article for my website. So I normally don't start from scratch. So I normally start by taking a bunch of notes on my to-do list or my phone or such, and I just transferred these notes to a new article file here in Markdown format here. So I'm adding the tags right now of what categories I want this to be under roughly. I'm looking at the old tags on my website, and now I'm compiling it so that it turns an HTML file. So this is the HTML file. On the left, you can preview it, and the Markdown is on the right side. It's my own custom format with a YAML header and a Markdown body. I'm looking at Thinking Fast and Slow. The title of this article, Communicating Fast and Slow, kind of is an homage to Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow book. So I'm just starting to go for it. And, I have some false starts with the writing, as usual, but this is the behind the scenes process. It's like the director's cut of a really boring movie. Then I write some notes to myself and stuff. Like, this is too abstract. I'm just trying to fiddle with the opener. So I'm like, let's just go directly into it. I'm assuming you've read this article already. Otherwise, I don't know why you're watching this. It's kind of behind the scenes. Okay, so recall that I have a list already of the types of communication. That was how I started this article. I had a list in mind, and I kept appending to this list, again, usually on my phone or sometimes on my computer. I just keep jotting it down until I felt like I have enough critical mass in order to start writing an article. And I felt like, okay, there's something here. There's like enough of a critical mass. Okay, I'm copying this list now, which kind of is going to form the heart of this article. And I'm just kind of retyping it in a better format. So compile, if you see on the left side, you'll see the actual text come about. So I'm just kind of copying parts of my list and just starting from, the fastest medium format, I guess, to the top, which is replying to social media on your mobile device. It's like super fast. And then I'm just going to keep going down the list. I toyed with the idea of having categories like super fast, but now let's just do one list. Then I put some sub bullet points here, which I'll fiddle with later probably. Yeah, the 400 times speed is pretty good, I thought. So this is about a 45-minute session, I think, or 50-minute session. So this compresses down to around 12 minutes, which is, a decent amount of time to talk for. I don't want to talk for like 50 minutes commentating on me typing in real time. 4x is pretty good, 400% speed. So I'm kind of fiddling with the wording to keep it as consistent as I can as I work my way down the list. I'm trying to adopt a reasonable tone, but I'll edit all this down later on. The most important thing at this early stage is to get what I want to say out. That's not super sloppy. I don't want it to be super sloppy because then it just looks too sloppy. Adding examples are always good. What are examples of group messaging? Slack, WhatsApp, iMessage. What are examples of one-on-one messaging? And then I'm going to post here. Email. And then I fiddle around with the categories later, as you'll see. But and I remember this article, Group Chats Are Making the Internet Fun Again. I want to link to that. That was a fun article. I'm using that as examples of group chat apps. And I'll later link to that article as well. I usually don't link to a ton of articles because I want my posts to be, or my articles to be fairly self-contained. And if you link to outside articles, those links might die over time. But, this is pretty relevant. Phone call. I don't actually know where to put phone calls here, as you'll see, or talking to face-to-face. I'll put some to-dos. Adding a link in Markdown format. I notice I have a summary on the upper left here. I'll write that usually last, summarizing the article. It's just good for readers. Fastest and most dangerous. Yeah, I think I removed that editorial a little later, but I wanted to really start it off with a bang. Like, this is fast and dangerous. But notice I kind of really started with the heart of the article, which is this big list that I had jotted down my notes. I at this point, that's so early, I don't really know what I want to do with this article. And as I'll talk about later in these videos, I don't really have a point of view or perspective yet that's clear. It's just enumerating, hey, look, this is a cool list. this is, the heart of this article, why I want to write it is like, there's a list of things that I think are communications medium going from fast to slow that I think is interesting to think about and lay it all out on a simple one-dimensional list. Obviously, there are nuances, but snail mail. I want a snail emoji. I usually don't put emojis in my in my articles, but I couldn't resist that one. Snail mail. And then we're getting to the slow end, right? Writing article and writing a book, which is the slowest. And here we go. This is a more of a less complete list. I'm going to end up fiddling with this later, but that's, roughly the items that I want. And then it's like, where do I place this face to face? Right now, I think it's, and then writing on your own website, I kind of play with the order. I mean, the order isn't perfect, but I, end up with some order that I feel is decent. So my text editor is Vim, using Vim in a terminal. So I use a lot of keyboard. It's basically all keyboard, if you notice, right? I don't use the mouse. It's all keyboard shortcuts and moving and deleting lines and copying lines and stuff. So if you're not familiar with Vim, it just looks like text is just flying all over the place, especially at 4 times speed. But I found this, really useful for editing plain text. And I'm, toying with this idea of the fact that in any medium you can say whatever you want, but some mediums are better for fast things and slow things. And not all of these snippets end up making the final article. So now, so what, right? Okay, so what? We said what we wanted to say, but what's the whole point of this? Medium matters. I don't know if I end up hitting on that point later. Okay, I'm going back to the intro. And I was struggling, I remember, with like, what does fast mean, right? Like, it doesn't mean how fast you type, because clearly you can type an email really fast, and you can type a social media reply just as fast, and you can type a text message fast. But what does fast mean, right? I don't mean how fast you type, but like how each medium encourages speedy replies and such. So I'm struggling with that as I'm writing. So let's say what I mean by fast. So now I think my strategy now is just to define what fast is using the examples from this list that forms the heart of my article. Kind of reading through it. I also started writing this toward the end of the day. I just had a little bit of time in the afternoon before dinner, so I was already kind of tired. I remember I was already pretty tired and hungry by then, so I didn't really make a ton of progress in this first 45-minute session, but at least it gets you started, right? So another thing with writing is that it's such a cliche, but it's like, just get something started, right? Like, get something started. It looks like a web page article. That's not just a bunch of loose notes. Just get something started, because then the second session is easier, right? So I'm now outlining what I mean by fast, right? So the fastest are social media. Their business model encourages fast. You have people getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars per year to make you addicted to these mediums. Private may be slower than public because you don't have the need to perform, right? It's not as performative. You're not, showing off for others. But there's this visual indicator, right? So text messaging medium feels a little faster than, say, emails, because there's a visual indicator. Oh, someone's typing. Alice is typing right now, or Bob is typing. I think I just delete some notes just to clear up my text, my document file. And then toward the end, I want to say what I've chosen to do, right? Like, how have I chosen to deal with this? What am I doing currently? And again, I'm just yanking stuff from notes into text, because I'll remember all my random notes from my phone. So already in the bottom. And it's like Cal Newport. I remember, oh yeah, Cal Newport has something about this. He's a very anti-social media guy. And then I put an appendix, just random notes and links to other people's stuff. It's good to move into an appendix. Again, no writing really starts from scratch, right? By the time I sat down to write this, I already prototype ideas in an outline in my private notes, right? And that I rarely just sit down and be like, okay, blank slate, let's just start writing. I just don't have the time for that right now. I think it could be fun, right? Like, that could be a fun activity. Like, I'm not talking about this article anymore, but it could be a fun activity. Like, let's just sit down and just start writing and start recording yourself, and let's see what we come up with, starting literally from a blank slate. I haven't done that yet, because this is just, something I've been meaning to write for a bit. It's been stewing around my head. That's how articles mostly come about. I start writing some notes, and then that snowballs into an actual article. I don't consider this like a masterpiece article or anything. It just happens that like this is kind of cool. I want to record myself talking about it. So like it's not like super profound, but it's something, right? Explain, right? So this is kind of leaving a note to myself to explain next time. We're almost at the end of the session. So I think by the end of the session, I just want to flesh out that main list. And I'm getting pretty tired by this point. It's almost dinner time. I'm like, I don't want to keep writing. And it's almost, an hour. So let's just quit. So I'm adding some examples to the list to flesh it out a little bit, just so that list, which is the heart of the essay or article, I want that to be in good shape before I come back to it next time. Hobbyist forums and stuff. Yeah, just more examples. So really the point of this first session just to flesh out the center of my, of why I wrote this, right? I wouldn't have written this if I didn't come up with a list already. And this list I have been stewing on for, months, or maybe some could say even years, because I've been using many of these kinds of communication for years and seeing how they've been so addictive now, especially social and forums and gamification and all that stuff, and trying to actively resist a lot of that while still interfacing with friends and colleagues and not just being like, oh, don't ping me at all because I'm totally off these platforms. So I don't think quitting cold turkey is a practical solution for many people. But yeah, I'm just cleaning some up, adding some to-dos, and then, where do I place these phone calls and face-to-face? And then it's dinner time and it's done.